Hello again, this is the video for CIS 2079 Java Programming for Pima Community College. This is going to go over JSP pages. So for the assignment for the JSP pages, basically you have two parts. One is just kind of familiarize yourself with the JSP stuff, which is just basically add a timestamp to the web page. Another one's going to be actually processing, then modifying the code to process some other stuff, to process message being passed between pages. So to start off, so the first thing you need to do for this assignment is find your web app. So I set it up so I have some packages here, but go into your source, main, web app, and then basically change your index file into a JSP page. And so since I'm in Eclipse, I'm going to right click on this and then just rename this JSP. So JSP stands for Java Servlet Page. And basically it allows you to write Java directly into HTML. So now I'm going to open up my project and run Maven package. I don't really need to do this, but I generally do this whenever I rebuild something. And then I'm going to do run my code. And now that I have my code running, I'm going to run localhost 8080, which is bringing my page. Notice here, if I run this as index.jsp, it still brings the same page up that I had from before. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add some additional material. So I copied and pasted the file I wanted to bring in earlier, which is the import jar file I wanted to bring in earlier. So if you want to into JSP pages, if you want to bring in import a file, on the top here, do left angle bracket, %, and then do @page, and then do import, and then as a string, whatever value you want to bring in. So in this case, I'm going to bring in date. And then what I want to do is I want to add the timestamp. And so to add there's two ways to add Java into your programs. So I'm going to do hello world, and then I'm going to put in here the angle brackets %, and then in Eclipse it automatically fills out the back end. And then I can put a little bit of Java in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do out.write. So in JSP pages, for the last assignment, you had to do create a writer. Well, JSP pages automatically creates a writer. So I'm going to do hello world, and then I'm going to put in the write portion. I'm going to put the string. I'll do current time, and I'll add the date here in a second because I need to add another file. So now if I save this, so actually let me open this in a different format to make it a little bit easier to read, because I'm going to leave this just in a source code. So if you want to open with a different value, you can open with, and then I can just do JSP editor. So it looks more like this. So anyway, now that I save this, I don't need to rerun it. So all I need to do is refresh, and you can see it adds the current timeline here. So when you make modifications to JSP pages, all you need to do is refresh. If you make modifications to an actual .java file, you actually have to rebuild using Maven. So the next thing I also need to add, and I might have to look this up because This page import. I forgot what it was, so I actually have it handy here on the assignment. So I'm going to also cut and paste and bring in Java simple data format. And then for this one, what I want to do is I want to create a variable that has the simple Java format. So what I can do for this is add some more Java code in here, and then I'm just going to basically declare a variable. I'm going to call this simple date format, and then I just usually call this SFD, and then I'm going to do simple date format, and then whatever format I want to have the date in. And so in this case, you have this as a variable, as a string, and then I'm going to do, since I'm in the United States, I'm going to do the United States format. So I'm going to do month dash day, so DD, and then year. Uppercase M is for months, lowercase m is for microseconds. So this is the only one going to be in there. And let's see what I need to make this new. So what this will do is I'll have a simple date format. And then now what I want to do is I want to get a time. So I'm going to get the current time when the page is doing it. So I'm just going to call this date. Date equals new date, and this will give us the current. This will give us the current time. And then now what I'm going to do is so all I'm going to do is really write out a string. I'm going to actually change this up, and if I do left angle bracket or left arrow %sign equals, anything that's within in this space is just going to write out as a string. And generally I just do it as one line. And so I'm going to do SFD, and that's going to give us the date format. And then I'm going to do format, so a date, and I'm just going to have date already in there. And then it'll automatically do it to string, but I can also imply that. Actually, I'll just show you. So if in Java, if you do something, if it wants to turn into a string, you don't do toString, it'll automatically call the toString value. So I'm going to go back into the hello world. I kind of messed up here, but you can see I have the date right there. And so I'm going to expand the date and time a little bit, so you just have the date. I want to add the time as well. So I'm going to go back into Eclipse, and let's see where. Oh, actually I have an extra one right there. So I'm going to do the M is minutes. So I'm going to do HH colon MM colon SS, and I think this is seconds. If I can check right here. And then we have our timestamp. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'll add current time. Put a plus symbol there. And this will give us the current time here. So save this again. Refresh it, and you can see the current time there. And so, I mean, you can also do this in JavaScript. So the changes we make on our JSP are called server side modifications. So this happens actually on the server, and this will generate HTML. If you use something like JavaScript, so JavaScript and Java are not related, but JavaScript's embedded in HTML, you get that's called client side. So that's a process on your own browser. So generally things you want to make sure that's not modified by the user, that's set on the server, you would do in JSP, and then anything that you would want to do on the client side, like processing user interface and stuff like that, that's going to be done using JavaScript. So in this case, we're just focusing on Java. So the next portion would be so for the next part. So this would basically get you done with part 1. For the second part of the JSP portion, you need to make a new JSP page that processes the request and response values from that come from another page. So I'm not going to show you how to do that for this video. Basically, all I'm going to stick with, excuse me, is, but I will show you how to take care of the request and response stuff. So also so like I've showed you before, that built into when you make a JSP page, it automatically has a writer, and that's going to be called out. But there's also, just like with the so let me open up your my servlet page that I did for this assignment with content.java. And so we have here, notice here the values we pass in are request and response, and then also I generated an out. And there's a few other ones in here, but for this class or for this basically lecture, we don't need to really care about those. But so by default, the request, the HTTP servlet request is called request in the JSP page. So you can see here, if I type request, it automatically comes up. And so I can say get so if I do response, so I can do request, and say you can get parameters. I'm not going to do this here, but you can get them. Let's see, what should I was going to get one that I'll just get content length. For some reason that didn't come up. So this gives you how big of the request is sending in. So I'll do this. I'll call this content length. So I'm just showing here how you can use request. And then I can do out, print, and I'll make this big. I'll make it a little bit smaller, do H3. And I'll call this content length. And then slash H3. So you know you can just also put all the HTML that you want in here. And I'll give it a little context. I'll call this content length. Then now if I refresh this, -1, so it means there's nothing being passed in. And then also, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do, you can do response. So so what you'd want to do is, for the next second part, is use request to get the get parameter, to get the value that's going to pass over, like you did in the previous assignment. Then you also do some response stuff if you need to modify it. So I'm going to get status. So this is the status number. So I'll do int get status. And you can also see this here. If I do out print, actually I'll get the status up here. This won't change, and I'll actually embed the content a little bit lower down. So I have the time, and so I'm going to do the time. I'll make this H3. So I strongly suggest you always, and when you're programming HTML stuff, always have some wrappers around it. And then also do another line. I'll call this one, make this one H3, I'll make it H4, and then I'll call this status. I'll just type status and do H4. So hopefully this runs. I'll go back to the page and refresh. So notice here the status is 200, which means 200 means that it's a good page. But other statuses you're probably familiar with is if a page doesn't exist, it's a 404 status. So if I type index 2. There's no index 2 page in my server. Notice here I got a 404. And but you can also put the just print the status of the page. And sometimes people use this to have customized error pages. So real quick, there's something I wanted to add and I forgot to do that. So real quick, so part of the assignment is also you have to do a response where you pass a page from payment.jsp to accepted.jsp. So I forgot to show you how to do that. So real quick, if you use the response and then do send redirect. Once it hits this line, it will actually go to the page you specify here. So I'm going to specify a page that doesn't exist called index2.html. But what you should put in here is in your payment.jsp page, you also at the very end put a send redirect, so it redirects to a new the accepted page. So now if I add this and then go to so if I go to localhost 8080, notice how it just automatically redirects to this page. So this response that send redirect will basically send, once you get done with certain parts of processing, it'll go to a new page. So generally I use send redirect in servlet pages, where I'll do all the processing in the servlet pages, because I just like it because you can add methods, which you can't do in a JSP. I guess you could, but you generally can't do in a JSP page. It takes some work to do. So anyway, that's all I wanted to show you to this amendment. But thanks again for watching this, and I'll put out another video later.